together to do like a, not in person, but a virtual celebration for them and sharing it with them and their families. So if you have any pictures or anything from any of our events that we've done, a field trip that you went on with the 4th grade, please do send it over to me. My email, I'm going to put in the chat box, but it's Bastien@gmail.com. That's BASTIEN@gmail.com.
We're especially looking for pictures from Fair Day, field trips, and spring arts. Especially spring arts when the 4th graders were kindergarten, 1st grade. We have a lot of the other years, but not so much those first 2.
I can look into that. I think I might have some. This might sound wacky, but did you think of contacting Mr. Stone for pictures?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Did he share everything with you, Principal Ellerby?
I won't say that I have everything, but what I can do is go look at what he has, things that he emailed me and sent me, and then I'll look, Allie, at specifically for Fair Day and Spring Arts and forward those in particular to you.
That'd be
okay,
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I mean, he took a lot of pictures, so I'm sure I don't have everything, but he would kind of sift through things and email them to me, so I'll look for that.
Okay, great. Moving on, is there any questions or comments about anything that we just spoke about?
Hi, yes, the 4th grade. What exactly are we doing for the 4th graders?
Hi, I didn't see who that was. Who was that who spoke? Are you a 4th grade parent?
Yes, Mikkel is my son.
Oh, hi.
My name is Laria.
Hi, yes. So there was something sent out by Teacher Long and Teacher Tim on their classroom, on Google Classroom, for them to fill in. It was 3 things. One of them was their favorite memory from PAL. Another one was a message they wanted to give to the younger grades. And there was a third one, but I don't remember exactly what it was.
What they're most looking forward to for middle school.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I saw that. Was that shared on Class Dojo or?
It was actually shared on their Google Classroom. So it was maybe over a week ago. We can reach out to teacher. If you reach out to your teacher, they could reshare it with you. But it should still be posted. But also along with that, we're asking for any pictures that you may have from from your kids' time at PAL, all back up to kindergarten.
Yes, I see. I emailed you that those last week.
Yes, I did receive this for you. So we're working together and with Ms. Bunyan and Mr. Dazzy and Principal Ellerby, and we're creating a virtual yearbook. And then they also have a few other steps in that celebration process. And then they'll be sharing some details with you soon.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you to the team that's doing that. We wanted to make an announcement from the HSA exec. We had a meeting a few weeks ago, and we decided to defer the elections for new officers until we can actually meet in person in the fall with the student body. We felt it wasn't really appropriate to do a digital only outreach because it leaves a lot of parents out that don't happen to be linked in as tightly right now. So we ran that by Principal Ellerby, and we will keep the same leadership over the summer, but we really are looking to put a number of new people in leadership positions and heading committees, which is something you don't have to run for. And honestly, it's not like you have to give prepared professional election speeches, anything like that. It really, we've been able to pretty much in-house try to recruit a strong team and work it out to people's strengths and their interests. So if anybody is even slightly interested in thinking about coming on to the HSA board, we are going to, or even doesn't know HSA versus SAC, and we can talk about the difference and the kind of different jobs and tasks that are done by each and what overlaps. We're going to have a call next Tuesday, same time, same place, just like a peer-to-peer call with some of the current officers and any parents or family members who are interested to hear more. So we'll send out a reminder about that, but we will be, right now we have a tentative date for elections, which is October, but obviously it all is pending the school calendar and how that shapes up in the fall. So that was that little bit of info. And let me see if I can get further up on the chat. Nope, I lost it. To find out what else was on my agenda. Did anybody notice how we got a bunch of blasts from the district about advocacy, about reaching out to your legislator because the budget is in a really tight spot due to the pandemic? I was struck because I don't believe I've ever gotten a direct message like that from the district saying, parents, we need you to call your legislator and we need you to fight for funding for our schools. So I thought it might be a great idea and to actually just do a little live demo of that for you all. And we have a bunch of people on the Zoom call that have lots of experience with doing this. And so I'm gonna put them kind of in charge. But if you look up in the chat, let's see, is it possible to scroll up on the chat? I can't do that. If not, I'll just paste this info again because I'm having trouble scrolling up.
We can scroll up.
You can scroll up?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why I can't. Like I can't go past the, well, let me just paste it again so you don't have to scroll up. So there is a district link that gives you basically the information that we're going to demonstrate. But I broke down and wrote a lot of the representatives, the governor's number, and then the representatives that pretty much represent, if you live in West Philly, you're likely to have either Roebuck or Donna Bullock as a state rep, and either Vincent Hughes or Anthony Williams. But maybe before talking any further, I'm just gonna ask Tiffany if she can jump on her phone and demonstrate this call with the messaging that the district has asked us to deliver. I noticed Power, Rochelle is a strong group that Rochelle is asking, has one more add-on to the district ask. But I think let's stick with the simple, what the district's asking, the two things they're asking, and then Rochelle, you can elaborate once we've seen that in kind of a little demo format. Okay?
Okay, hey everyone. Is it evening? Good afternoon. These days are starting to run together. Couple things before we actually demonstrate the call is that I want to remind everyone that our legislative offices are closed. We're still under the stay-at-home order here in Philadelphia. So when you are calling these offices, more than likely you are going to get the voicemail. You're not going to get a live person unless they've popped into the office to do something or if the calls are transferred. What's important is that you always leave your name, address, your phone number, and your email address, and leave it clearly. So I would try to at least do it twice, maybe the beginning of the call and at the end of the call, so that whoever is retrieving the voice messages for that particular office is able to get all of the information down. That has been an issue where folks call the offices and they speak too fast, they speak too slow, or they run on with the conversation and the staff person really misses the actual point of the call. There are two things that Gretchen said that we want to advocate for. One is to make sure that next year's, well, as they're working on the state budget now, is that next year's public education funding remain the same as the current year. So we want the 2020, 2021 which is next year, school year funding to be the same as it was for this year. So basically you don't want any cuts. An increase is always great, but you don't want any cuts. In addition, you want public education to receive all of the federal relief funds that they are entitled to or that are available. So basically, when you call a legislator's office, you're saying who you are. You can also say, I'm a parent of a student in a district, or I live in your district. You give your contact information, including email address, and you state the two things you want the legislator to do, which is basically support and advocate or support and fight for those two things. And then you end the call with a thank you, and you repeat your contact information so that they have it. So if you want, I can just do a brief call. If the phone rings, the voicemail comes on, I say, good afternoon, my name is Tiffany Wilson. I am a parent of a PAL student in your district. I live at 6032 Osage Avenue. My phone number is 215-601-6747. And my email address is thetiffanyawilson@gmail.com. So give it a minute so that they can write everything down. And then I'll say, I'm calling to advocate on behalf of public education, and I have two requests. One, that our legislator, whoever it is, Senator Hughes, fights for public education funding to remain the same for the 2020-2021 school year as it was this year. The second thing I'm asking is for all of the federal relief funds that are available to come to us. So just wanted to advocate on those two issues. Again, my name is Tiffany Wilson and my phone number is, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Under normal circumstances, you may get a call back, or you may get an email saying, hey, thanks for your advocacy. We got you, we'll put you in our database. Because we're under this COVID-19 stay at home, we're not sure who's in and out of the office. I would also recommend sending an email to those elected officials, not just calling, because then you also have a different staff person who's tracking that as well. So depending on the offices and whose responsibility it is that day, the legislator will get the information because it'll be put inside of a database. I saw that Ms. Rochelle also posted that she may give us information or contact information for the appropriation chairs and some other folks. So I think that's really good as well. What I want to note is that even though Powell School is in West Philadelphia, some of our folks do not live directly in West Philadelphia. Some of them actually may be in North Philadelphia. So it would not hurt for them to call their elected officials by where they live, and or some of those that are in leadership and are actually in the smaller rooms making the actual decisions about the money. So is that helpful, Gretchen?
Yeah. Do you want to try to actually make a call? Like just do it?
You want me to do a real call?
I think it will be fun.
I can. All right. My office is going to kill me. They're going to be like, why are you calling? Okay. Can you hear? Go to the voicemail.
Greetings. Thank you for calling the office of State Senator Vincent Hughes. Our office is currently closed to in-person meetings and in-person constituent services. Please leave your name, your number, and a detailed message on how we can best assist you, and a staff member will follow up with you within 24 hours. Thank you and have a great day.
Why didn't the voicemail come on? Okay. Hi, my name is Tiffany Wilson, and I live at 6013 Osage Avenue. My phone number is 215-601-6747. And my email address is thetiffanyawilson@gmail.com. I am calling to leave a voice message for Senator Vincent Hughes and his legislative staff. I have two requests in the upcoming state budget. I am requesting that public education funding for the 2020-2021 school year remain the same as the 2019-2020 school year, and also that all of the federal relief funds that are available for public education are released to us. I look forward to hearing from someone. Again, my name is Tiffany Wilson. My phone number is 215-601-6747. And I have a child who lives within the district. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's give a hand at Tiffany for her little impromptu demo to us.
Thank you.
Rochelle, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
Yeah, that's great, Tiffany. And Senator Hughes has certainly been very visible and busy. He calls every night. I just wanted to add, yeah, I just wanted to add to what Tiffany, this is from Power. I'm a member of Power, and Power is a collection of faith-based congregations in Philadelphia and throughout the states. So I'm a member of Philadelphia Power and the Education Strategy Team. And we also are really asking the congregations and families and friends who care about public education to place calls. So there's the same calls that Tiffany talked about, that is, that in terms of making demands, we're talking about demanding that the state budget keep the education budget at least at the 2019-2020 level. The truth of the matter is we're going to need so much more money to reopen schools safely. But right now, a number of advocates and organizers are saying, at least can we hold the line at the 2019-2020 budget level. The second, as Tiffany has said, is to distribute the entire allotted federal CARES fund to the school districts. So don't take that money and put it in place of what the state budget would have been, but to make sure that that money that's coming from the federal government under CARES goes to the districts in addition to the budget, the money coming from the state. And we're asking for a third piece, and that is that the legislature, Pennsylvania legislature, approve Governor Wolf's proposal to fund toxic school cleanup through the RACP program. As you know, prior to the pandemic, there was lots and lots of energy and demands being made around toxic schools. And you know that is an issue in Philadelphia as well as in other areas of the state. And so we want to see that funding for toxic schools continue and that we get that funding so that Philadelphia and as well as districts in other parts of the states can deal with the toxic school issue. The only other difference is, in addition to calling your own legislature, we are asking our congregations, again, families, friends, and networks, to also call the Senate Appropriations Committee chair. That's a Republican. The Senate Appropriations Committee minority chair, which happens to be our very own Vincent Hughes, the House Appropriations Committee chair, and the House Appropriations Committee minority chair, and then your legislators. So it's a little bit more, but we actually are prioritizing making calls to those people who are over appropriations and making that a priority in addition. I'm happy to post that information up there. I put a little of it in the chat, but if I can, maybe I could get it to you, Gretchen, and you could put it in the email to get that out. And I'd appreciate that.
Gretchen, really quickly, just to piggyback on what Ms. Rochelle said, the other thing is just a reminder that the school district does have a pre-typed letter on their website that folks can use to send to their representatives. Laura reminded me of that. She sent me a message. And the other thing is, I believe a part of the stipulation of the PA CARES money, the federal funding, was that the money could not be used to fill any budget holes. So it would be hopefully in addition to any funding that was received. And I believe at this point, at least today's Tuesday, I think as of Friday, the only body of folks who actually put a proposal together on the state level of how that federal money was supposed to be, should be spent, was the Senate Democrats. They're the only ones who said, hey, the money is coming. Here are the 4 areas where we should place the money. So if you want to I know he's my boss and all, but if you want to go to senatorhughes.com/PA cares, there's a breakout there. But as of Friday, they were the only ones who had actually said, here's how we think the money should be spent.
Just one last thing. I think our understanding is that the budget will be passed this week, and if not this week, next week. So we're prioritizing and asking our members and congregations, family and friends to make the calls on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. And if the budget hasn't passed, to do it again next week on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. You don't have to make it, but there really is this short window to get this done, because Tiffany, unless you know, have some updated information, that budget gets passed this week, next week at the latest. Is that your understanding?
That's what's supposed to happen. You know, if we go past June 30th, then there's an issue. But right now they're saying a lot of the needs are cut and dry, so they're trying to pass it as early as possible.
Which would be this week.
Yeah.
So make those calls this week. In addition to mailing in your ballots.
Gretchen, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Rochelle, just one thing that I think is intimidating about this process is there's a lot of vocabulary that might not be familiar if you haven't done it before. Can you explain what appropriations chair is? Because you said you would provide those numbers.
Yeah, they're the people, they're the chairs of the committee that review the appropriations. So Tiffany might be able to say more about what Senator Vincent Hughes does, but he is the minority. And for each of those, you have the majority chair and the minority chair. And that tends to be majority, that's the Republicans, and minority are the Democrats right now. But they're over that committee. So
basically, what I mean is it's money. They're the ones that decide where the money goes.
It's how the money is spent. And so there are dozens of conversations about money, about policy, about legislation. The appropriations chair people, the leaders, they're the ones that go into that smaller room where the real decisions are made. So you got these big rooms where folks are saying where the money goes or where they want the money to go, but the real decision and the people who have the ear to the governor, in all honesty, are those small group of leaders who are actually taking what their caucuses want and saying, hey, here's our priority list. How do we negotiate this? So appropriations are the people who are in charge of the funding. I think on a federal level, sometimes they call them the Ways and Means Committee, still appropriations. They're all the same.
Thank you. That's so helpful. And basically what Tiffany asked for is exactly what Dr. Haidt gave us the heads up about and is on that district website. I don't know how to share my screen, but just kind of to close up this conversation, I was going to go to this link. Does anybody that's administering the call, I've never shared a screen during a Zoom call before. Do I just go to that link?
At the bottom where it says share screen.
Just press it?
And then the top left-hand corner of the next screen that comes up should be your computer screen. Do you see your computer screen?
No. I wanted to go to that Fund Our Schools link.
So when you type on share screen, another screen window should pop up. It should already be highlighted and say blue, and it should say screen.
Yeah, desktop.
Okay. So
when I press share?
Yep. And then everything should shift.
Now we got all your bank logins, everything.
Can you see anything, or do you just see my Zoom call?
We don't see it.
Sharing yet. But this is on the district's website.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually go there. I just find there's something to actually seeing it. But, all right.
You hit the share button?
Yeah, I did. But I think there's a security issue with my computer. I have to go to permissions, and I don't want to delay the meeting.
Wait,
do
okay.
that. So
on the district website?
Yeah, in the chat, there's the,
Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up for you.
the link is in the chat.
But
Okay.
you have to share, then she has to share her, she has to
Yeah,
give you the
and I don't know if
permission.
you have permission to share your
Yeah,
screen
there
if you're
you
not a
go.
moderator.
There you go.
Boom.
You can
So
see it.
this is,
I'm sharing
yeah,
it. I'm sharing
perfect.
it.
Thank you. So this is the link that the district sent out in their alerts, and you see the two messages that Tiffany spoke about on the phone. Again, doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need all the numbers. Keep public education funding at the current levels, and send us all of our federal relief funds. So Tiffany, can you go up further, because there's the find your legislator somewhere on that.
It's down.
Is it down further?
It's right here. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Where
So
you can where you find your legislator.
So what I did was I scrolled all the way to the bottom,
Okay.
and then it's right here on your left-hand side. There's a blue
Boom.
button.
Boom. Can you just do that to walk through it? So this is it. This is how you find your legislators if you don't
Type your
know.
address in. Your city council people come up first, and then your state folks, you tap on state.
Put your actual address.
I did.
You did?
You see it? You see that?
No, I think the problem is I'm sharing it.
Oh, okay. Can you
Tiffany's
put
somebody else is
sharing
doing it?
those in? Put any of those in.
Oh,
Somebody else is doing it. Okay.
yeah, it's Tanya. I'm on it. There you go.
So now we see local. There's one whole column of local.
And then
And
state.
yeah, so what we're looking for this particular initiative is the state. Governor Wolf's is at the bottom.
Open your screen a little bit more. You can see your senator and your rep underneath Governor
There we
Wolf.
go. Senator Williams, James Roebuck. So those are two that were in the agenda. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah, unless anybody else needs more time, but I think we kind of walked through it effectively. And let's just pause to see if anybody else has any other questions about that process. You didn't know you were going to get a little advocacy one-on-one session today with this meeting, did you? But thank you for affording us this opportunity to make you into even stronger advocates. And with that, I think unless any HSA other people want to correct me if there's any other issues that we had planned to air, I would like to turn the baton over to Principal Ellerby. Yeah. Okay, I think we're done with our HSA update.
Good evening again, everyone. I know there may be a few people that jumped on the line since the meeting started. Thanks again, Tiffany and Rochelle and Gretchen, for providing this information to parents. Will there be like a hard copy of something that we could maybe upload to Classroom or send out electronically for parents who were not able to participate this evening?
Sure, we can make that happen.
Okay, all right. So once you provide that, I will put that up on Google, not Google Classrooms, excuse me, on Classroom Dojo. But I just really wanted to be available for any questions that you have. To be honest with you, you guys probably have some of the very same questions. I mean, the questions that are pressing for you are probably some of the very same questions that are pressing for us. Right now, as a school team, we're in the process of finalizing our school plan for the 2021 school year. And honestly, this is the most difficult school planning process I have ever been through, because I just don't know what to anticipate for next fall. And by saying I don't know what to anticipate, I mean, will we be virtual? Will we be back in brick and mortar? Will there be some hybrid version where the two of those things are combined? What changes to enrollment will take place because of COVID? what changes to staffing may take place. So there are so many variables in the air right now that we are doing the best we can to plan with various different scenarios and options in place. And from what I understand from, the information that Dr. Height is sending out to district members, as well as what's being put out on the news, the district is in the process of kind of working through what the plan will be for the fall, and that is not expected to be released until mid-July. So right now, everything really is our best guess, or really looking at what is happening in other places and trying to plan for what school may look like when we return. This past week, Friday, was a half-day professional development for staff. And so one of the things that we were engaged in as staff is to have our staff members doing some research and looking at what's happening elsewhere, what's happening in other districts and other places, and what the experts are saying about what school may need to look like when we return. And that's everything from operationally, what things may need to change, procedurally, what may need to change, what instructional practices will need to look like if we're in a virtual, a fully virtual setting, or if we are in a setting that's more of a hybrid. So I have lots of feedback and reflections and information from teachers, but I would love to hear from you. We had the conversation during the Title I Spring Parent Meeting, but I know some of you that are on now were not on for that meeting. What would really be helpful for me is to hear from you. What, number one, let's start with this first question. What is the best way to communicate with you, to get information out to you as a parent? Okay, so I see people putting in the chat email. We have been using Class Dojo because we have more parents that are accessing that than any other means. So just for confirmation, email by way of Class Dojo, are you guys getting that communication when it comes through Dojo? Okay, perfect. Looks like, thanks for putting your answers in the chat. Also, another question that I have for you is just around like what school could potentially, because we're kind of planning for a hybrid, to be honest. We're kind of planning for a scenario where students are doing some things virtually still, but then students are also coming into the building, but it would be on some type of alternative schedule. What the details of that schedule are like, we don't yet know, because the district is working on different scenarios in terms of that. But one of the things that we are doing is putting together home kits for students. So the teachers this past Friday had an opportunity to apply for a grant, and this grant was available only to teachers at PAL, McMichael, and SLAM. And so a couple of the teachers got together to try to use those grant funds to purchase items that students would need at home to support their home learning, should we continue in this virtual kind of path, or if we're in a hybrid path. So I would love to hear next from you as a parent, what things would be helpful for you if your child had, other than the computer, but what things would be helpful for you in terms of materials for your child to have at home if we are in a hybrid model next year? Oh, you know what, Teacher Chris, I see you in my view. Could you just share with parents some of the things that we are in the process of putting together in terms of purchases, to give them an idea of what we have envisioned are the needs?
I know just on my end, some of the purchasing things is we're realizing it's hard for students, particularly young students, to do lots of typing and showing their work. So just a few things are those, they're 12 by 9 dry erase boards. These will happen to be magnetic as well. Trying to coordinate having all of the markers, all of the erasers. One side of the board is blank, the other side is lined for particularly younger grade things for writing. There will be magnetic, if you've ever seen them, little red and yellow counters, so lots of students can show their work and work through things, particularly in math. On the literacy end, in terms of phonics and phonemic awareness, I know Teacher Cole's looking into magnetic letters and other things like that. I saw somebody throw in math workbook, and we're thinking about, we have some more, I don't know if disposable is the better word, but for 3rd and 4th grade that we might be able to send home, and we're trying to figure out different ways to access the math workbook. Trying to think of what else we talked about inside the toolkit, but we were, at least from my end, focusing on math, I think, with a lot of the counters and a lot of the whiteboards. That way they can actually do work during a Google Meet and actually hold it up to the screen and show it right away. And they'll have at least the hands-on manipulatives, like the little things that they can actually use to get through what we're hoping are just the first few math topics. Do you recall anything else, Principal Ellerby?
No, the only other thing, and this is not necessarily a purchase, but I just thought of it, Teacher Chris, as you were speaking, and that is families now, the library, the public library has opened up the option for students to be able to access ebooks. And so I know many of the teachers are talking about using the ebooks in their instruction. So students can actually access books electronically and pull up those books right on their Chromebook or laptop. So I just wanted to make parents aware of that.
That also reminded me, I know Teacher Cole had been talking a lot about purchasing actual class sets of books and things so that you have a common copy of something you might be reading in class. There were a couple other things, and I don't have my notebook right in front of me that has them, but we're trying to come up with some toolkit that will help students be able to show work, you know, particularly in meetings, and actually have, you know, workspace and tangible copies of things, especially in reading. But yeah, please feel free to share in any other things. We're trying to still compile the list based on some of the work we did on Friday and just different meetings that we're having with teachers trying to get lists together.
Principal Ellerby, can I ask a question of you? You mentioned the public libraries having, the students having access to the ebooks. Does that mean that the library system will have more ebooks? Sometimes when you go on and you want the electronic copy of a book, there's only one copy and you still have to wait. Does that mean they'll be releasing more copies?
That, I don't know. That's information that was shared with me at a meeting. My understanding is that it would be more copies because they know that district-wide teachers and students are using those resources.
Okay.
Do you know if the library allows people to get a library card electronically these days? I haven't done it in so long.
I believe so. I also, what was also shared with me is that they are waiving fines now. So if you were a little reluctant to go in and kind of do business, not go in, we're not going in right now, but if you were reluctant to try to access resources through the library because of issues with fines or things of that nature, all of that right now is being waived.
Yeah, just a question about if you don't have a library card, how can you get it? But I guess
I don't think you can get a library card online right now with them closed for children.
Right.
I feel like when this first started, I went on to get one for my niece and I couldn't get one for her. So I had to use mine or Paris's library card in order to download an ebook for her. Because once I got to a certain point and it asked her age, it wouldn't move any further. So unless they've updated the system, this was in beginning of April, then I think for minors, there's an additional step that they have to probably fix internally on the online system to allow that to happen.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you. You know, they say hindsight is 2020, and if we knew March 13th what we know now, there are a lot of things that we all probably could say we would have approached differently. So I'm going to capitalize on the fact that hindsight is 2020 and ask you in terms of support for parents with the virtual instruction piece, or support for parents with establishing routines and procedures at home that support what needs to happen when students are working from home around instruction. Are there particular topics or particular needs, particular things that would help you? Or with your hindsight knowledge, are there things that we can jump right in either over the summer or first thing in the fall to provide to parents so that if we are virtual, you are more equipped and able to navigate the virtual platform?
I'm curious. I was looking at the district numbers and just seeing how low the amount of technology uptake has been. So I'm curious at PAL what that's been like. Are students logging on? Is there a barrier to entry here? And is that something we could maybe help out, as a team of parents or people that like technology ahead of time? So in the fall, we can get a jump on some of these folks that might be having access issues.
Thank you for that. That's a great question. And Ms. Bunyan, when we're in school, Ms. Bunyan is the attendance guru, always monitoring the percentage of students that are there and they're on time. And so she's been giving me weekly updates. This past week, our participation rate was 85%. So we definitely are far exceeding the average that the district is experiencing, particularly from what I understand from reading in the paper. The district average is about 61%, but with the younger children, the elementary grades is lower than that. So we definitely are doing a lot better in terms of participation. I would say, however, before I get too excited about celebrating, that the bar for what constitutes participation, in my opinion, is not really high enough. And I know that when we move into the 2021 school year, the expectations from the district around what constitutes participation and all of those things will definitely change. And so this goes to a question actually that came out at the Title I spring meeting around grading. And just for those of you who are not aware, the policy of the district around grading right now is that whatever students are doing since March 13th can only benefit their grade. So no one's grade is going to go down based on their performance after school closed. And that, for me, that's a message that I really wanted to make sure got communicated in the right way, because what I didn't want to communicate to parents is, oh, don't worry about it. What you're doing right now, it doesn't count because it's not going towards your grade. And it absolutely does count. Number one, we want the children to continue the good habits. Routines are very important for children. And a lot of things are already disrupted. So if we kind of toss out their participation in class assignments and things of that nature, it only makes the fall that much more difficult. But I did want to share that just in case any of you were feeling a little stressed out about the assignments. The assignments will not hurt the children's grade. It will not penalize them. It will only help them. But the other reason why the participation and logging on every day is so important is because we know that summer slide is a real phenomena that exists. Children typically lose several months of what they gained instructionally over the summer. And so if we had a period of March, April, May, June, July, and August where students were not engaged academically, they would return in the fall really with huge gaps in their learning. And so not only do we want children to be participating in what's happening right now with the live instruction and with the assignments, we definitely want them to continue to be engaged in learning even after the last day of school. So in our final newsletters that come out, one of the things that you can look forward to is there will be a list of things that you can do with your children over the summer to kind of keep them engaged, keep some learning going. It won't be anything, you know, too intense, but definitely things that just allow them to practice. Also, we're going to be careful not to overwhelm you, because one of the things that I've found is that, you know, sometimes too much information is not a good thing. When schools first closed, I was getting emails constantly with long lists of resources. And so we really want to be mindful to pick out things that we think would be most beneficial for you, kind of sift through that and push out to you a list of a few resources that would include information as well about like virtual camps and virtual programs that the students can connect with over the summer. Are there any questions?
I just had one thought as far as the beginning of the new school year, and I wonder if there's any way to gradually move into whatever the new normal is. Sorry for all the background noise. So instead of it's like the first day, bam, these are all the things you got to do, and now it's this, and now it's this. I don't know if that would, it might help to just like the first week, it's almost operating at half capacity. Second week, maybe 2/3. Third week, we're going full time. That might ease the transition since it's a totally new way to start school. Something like that might be helpful. I don't know if it's possible, but just an idea.
I love that suggestion. Thank you so much for that. I think it's a great suggestion. I mean, it definitely models, Melissa, what we typically do. Like in the start of the school year, the teachers really spend the first several weeks focused on establishing a classroom culture, building routines and procedures within the classroom so that the children just learn this is how this classroom is going to function, and getting to know their peers and their teachers. So that being our general practice, we definitely will be mindful of that and approach virtual learning, if that's what it is, in that same way. We may not have as much flexibility as what you're describing in how fast we ramp up, because we are, the calendar and the calendar, as it were, will be established by the district, or the alternative schedules will be established by the district. But as much as we can, we definitely will be mindful of the need to kind of bring everybody in so that we can kind of step folks through, because this is going to be new, not only for the children, and for the parents, it's new for us as well. I've been in education almost 30 years and obviously never had to start a school year off the way we are likely getting ready to.
Principal Ellaby? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just a follow-up to that, and it's really, I'm wondering about how much autonomy schools will have at the school level for implementing this. So my understanding is that, first of all, guidelines will come out from the CDC, and that's federal, and that will come down to the state, and then you have the State Department of Ed, and then you have the school district. But I think one of the things that everyone is experiencing is, you know, how decisions get made and how nimble you can be at a school level or even at a district level to respond to what you're experiencing. So do you have any sense about changes in the way the district is going to operate and interact with schools? And might that be something that parents can also raise questions about?
I think that's another excellent question, because there are two schools of thought in the district when it comes to that. So you have this one team of folks in the district that feels like everybody needs to be on the same page. When we message something to parents, it needs to be consistent. It needs to be, clear and consistent and the same, as much as possible, the same across contexts, right? And then you have another group of folks in the district that feel like, you need to come up with general guidelines, but within within the structure of those general guidelines, principals, school communities, school teams need the flexibility to be able to determine under the broad guidelines, the way the implementation, the details of the implementation, what that will look like. So an example of this would be actually the Chromebook distribution. In March, principals received a directive saying that we were to manage the distribution process for the Chromebooks. And it was actually supposed to take place after spring break. So that would have been sometime around mid-April. I can't remember now the exact dates of spring break. However, in speaking to the leadership team at PAL, the team really felt like, listen, we want to do this as quickly and safely as possible. The numbers are only rising. If we wait till mid-April, there are going to be potentially more cases. So let us go in, organize, do what we need to do, and distribute. And we were given the autonomy to change the schedule, even though the district had identified that it would happen in mid-April. We were able to push it up and do it a little earlier. So my hope is that because every school context is so different, that we will be given general guidelines, and then school teams will be given the flexibility, as was in the case of the Chromebook distribution, the flexibility to do really what makes sense at the school level.
And right now, you think those guidelines were planned, that'll be released in July, at least that's the plan right now. I mean, we understand it changes, but right now that's the plan.
Yeah, the plan right now is that the information will be made public in July and mid-July, which actually brings me to another point that I wanted to make. We have been sending out parent newsletters. We were sending them out weekly, and now we've dropped back to bi-weekly because not much information has been changing now that we're kind of in the flow of the virtual piece. My intention is to continue to put together and put out the parent newsletters throughout the summer so that as information becomes available, I can keep you all abreast of this is what's happening and this is what it's going to look like at PAL. Just understand, to Rochelle's point, that things really are changing like very frequently. But as much as possible, I want to keep you abreast of the major things that are happening, because I know there are all kinds of plans and things that you have to think through what September is going to look like for your child as well as for you. So as much as possible, I want to keep you informed about what the district is saying and then what that will translate to for us at PAL.
Can I suggest something? I think what is so strong at PAL is the sense of community. And I think I really missed having kind of like a digital introduction to this little temporary digital phase, say in April or in March. And I know looking forward, maybe there is a possibility. It's going to be a lot of time, I understand, for teachers to be on Zoom, and for teachers like Teacher Chris, Cole, Principal Ellerby, the staff that really touch all the different classrooms to spend on Zoom. But I feel like we need to have a digital back to school night version for the whole school community, and then class by class, so that parents side by side with their children can hear maybe a section of it about what this year is going to be like, and then maybe there will be information that's just for the parents' ears. But that's something that I would really help me and my child, I believe.
Gretchen, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what your ask is. I'm clear that you're saying digital back to school night. What was the other component?
I think that it's important for that back to school night. Maybe there needs to be two. One, to be an all school thing where a lot of staff and so on that touch base with the whole school community, Ms. Bunyan, Mr. Dazzy, Teacher Chris. Like, we had to have a chance to kind of connect as much as possible with that whole school community and with each other. But class by class, there's so much information that I'm sure teachers are going to want to impart. Just like when we have the live back to school night, we'd have like a whole school section and then we split up. I think both of those are really good and important for different purposes. One is more community building and getting the whole overview of all of Powell School, and one is really focused on the classroom.
Okay, I'm jotting that down and want to definitely give that some more thought and think about how to, you know, how to accomplish that goal of keeping like everyone informed and the connection that needs to happen. And it was so important for the whole school, but definitely wanting to make sure, particularly if we are virtual, that students and parents really understand what is going to be happening virtually with each individual classroom teacher. So thank you so much for that suggestion.
I think when you think of the virtual school experience, especially for the beginning of the year, one of the things that I think is helpful for parents and for the young people is when we do literacy night or math night. So you may want to think of virtually how that's going to pan out as well.
Rochelle, I noticed there's a question in the chat about this new building construction, and I know we want to close up the meeting soon, but do you want to say anything since from SAC you've been keeping tabs on facilities?
I don't have any additional information. I mean, the last I heard was the roof was going on and the building, the plan was to continue with the building, and that that it would be, I mean, the plan was for PAL not to move in until the following September 2021 anyway. So it's the slams, and last I heard was they were moving ahead, but I don't have any updated information. Principal Ellaby or?
Same, you know, just the only update I have is that construction has resumed. What was shared with me is that they have a more aggressive timeline to still try to complete construction in time for slams to be able to move in January 2021. So we'll see, but to your point, the plan was never for PAL to move in next January anyway, so I still feel pretty confident that PAL will be able to move in September of 2021, as was our original plan.
I have a tiny update to add that I didn't actually get to share with anybody on the call yet, including Principal Ellaby. That we have one parent, Megan Talarowski, who's a playground designer, and she kind of, with Principal Ellaby's blessing, went ahead and contacted directly the playground designers from the new school, wanting to make sure that if there's any opening for parent input into the playground facility, knowing that we're going to be dealing with a much smaller space, she wanted to make sure we maximize the play potential of that space. And she did actually now get some information back from the designers. It's basically the design is pretty much complete. There's not a lot of room for parents to get creative, even if it were about raising money to get a fancier play structure than what is already planned. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to really be that kind of opening for creativity in the approach, but they do have a play structure. There's a landscaping planned, and there is an opening for, Megan asked, can we extend whatever design is there with designs that are painted? And she had some examples from recent schools where she did that, and that is potentially something we can look into as the construction goes up, that we can do after it's complete. But if you want any more details about that, I could put you in touch directly with Megan, who's kind of like the parent advocate right now on that front. So does anybody else have any other just questions or comments or anything before we kind of move to close the call? Open forum.
want to give a huge thank you, Principal Ellerby, to you and the teachers and the HSA. You all have done an amazing job just communicating and keeping us updated on everything that's going on, and that's made such a difference. So thank you for all of that. If you just pass that on to the teachers as well.
I definitely will share that with the teachers. The team is amazing. I mean, seeing what the teachers, the STEP team, Ms. Bunyan, like what people are doing behind the scenes, not to mention whatever you're able to see in the forefront. It's just been very impressive to me to see the kinds of things that people are doing behind the scenes to try to maintain as much of a connection and as much of the culture that was established as possible. It's been a challenge, but I feel like we keep getting better at it.
And make sure you include yourself in that phrase too, because you're the one leading everyone. So thank you so much for your leadership, because that makes a difference.
Agreed. And thank you all for participating and staying connected. And again, next Tuesday, it's 5:30, same time. Please come back, because hopefully some of you will want to join the really strong team that is the HSA kind of board leadership. And bring your talents to the forefront.
I'm curious if we have, if what thought's been given to the new school being all the closer to a level 1 trauma center and all the vehicular and air traffic and things like that. Just wondering if we've talked about that, or if that's in any of the designs for soundproofing and different things there.
I didn't hear the question in its entirety, the first part. I heard you ask about plans for soundproofing.
Yeah, the new school being closer to Presby. So I work at Penn, I work for the health system, and knowing the amount of vehicular emergency traffic and air traffic that's right there, especially the helicopter, and us being half a block away, I'm wondering if there's been thought towards that end, with the school being all the much closer, and potentially, you know, ambulances cruising by and that type of thing.
I have not heard that discussed, but you just put something on my radar to bring to the next meeting when we meet with the Slams and the Drexel folks. So thank you.
If you want to go up to a helipad, I can get you up there. You can take a look and a view.
There will be a large building between Presby and the school, so hopefully that will help.
Gretchen, you're unmuted.
Sorry, we didn't try to fight for a helipad, but we did put a pitch in for a roof garden. Pretty strong pitch, but that was not, with the budget, that was not accepted, but we tried. Well then, I mean, I'd just like to, anybody, any other thoughts, you know, wave your hand. Otherwise, I know that everybody's busy, and I guess I would make a move to kind of formally close the meeting, and wish everybody a really nice evening. And thank you. And I'll just take, maybe Ali, or you can take people off mute, and that way they can just leave the meeting as they want. But
thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.